Hey y'all, I am on the road again on a trip heading to Elizabethton, Tennessee for a conference. So I thought this is a good time to answer another question. Several people have suggested to me that I answer questions with having a ministry, traveling, taking care of myself, all these different things that many people have told me. There's lots of questions and people sometimes don't want to ask it because they feel that's invasive or whatever, but they felt it would be good for me to explain things. So that's what we're going to do. Every so often you're going to get a now you know kind of video explaining. So today's question we're going to take is I received a question that says, do you fly? Well, no, I don't fly. I don't walk. Okay, that's a joke. That was a bad, corny joke. Okay, so here's the story about flying. I have flown when I was in a manual chair. That's not this power chair. I have flown many places, even by myself, and it is a rigmarole, and it's a whole almost comedy show. Just people that have ever flown with me could tell you it's a thing. But flying for a power wheelchair user and a manual wheelchair user, I have had things broken. Before I had to go to a power chair, my arms had got weak enough that I had to have a power assist, and I had a smart drive on the back. It's like a little motor wheel that attaches to the back of a manual wheelchair and kind of helps you propel for not enough arm strength. So I had that, and traveling in an airport, they broke my where it plugs in, and I was traveling all by myself. And many airports, by the way, are carpet, and trying to push a manual wheelchair on carpet when you don't have good if you have good arm strength, it's harder. It just kind of eats your wheels a little bit. But if you don't have good arm strength and you have a suitcase or something on your lap, it was impossible. I really couldn't have done it without the smart drive. And they bent all the pins to plug it into the back of my chair, and so I did not leave. I told them to go get their mechanics, and they had to fix that. But there have been wheels that have been bent and broken. There have been backs that have been snapped off. They really throw your wheelchair around like a piece of luggage. And if you just want to search or Google airport damage to wheelchairs, you will find some horrifying videos. And it's a real thing. And there's a lot of advocacy work that's going on about it. But my power wheelchair is a $40,000 chair. And to have that broken, which happens a lot, if I go somewhere and it's time to get off the plane and they say, hey, we've snapped your wheelchair in half, I am so beyond stranded. And a manual wheelchair, I've traveled before, and I get outside the airport and I've hailed a taxi and transfer in, and the taxi driver will break the chair down and put the wheels off. It breaks down so it'll fit in a trunk. A taxi cab driver or Uber will do that for me. They've always done that. But you can't do that in a power chair either. And you also can't just be picked up in any vehicle. I flew into Ohio one time, and they had arranged for a woman to come pick me up whose two children who are adults, but they both had disabilities and wheelchairs. So she had a wheelchair accessible van, and she came and picked me up. Even then, a manual chair was so much easier. It's great. But a power chair, I can't ride in just anybody's vehicle, because you can't. Where do you put the power chair? And taxis are not wheelchair friendly. And to rent, just to come out of an airport, I've done this too. I've rented accessible cars. You can rent cars from Hertz or any of these major car rental places, and you give them a heads up enough, and they'll have you a car ready to go with hand controls. And I've done that too. I've flown by myself, rented a car, had hand controls, break it down, put my wheelchair in and out by myself. I used to be able to do that. I don't have the arm or hand strength to do that anymore. But to rent an accessible vehicle, first of all, you can't get through a rental place. And if you rent it from a mobility place, most of them that I've found, first of all, they're extremely expensive, like $100 a day or more. And second of all, most of them don't have hand controls, because so many of us drive with different adaptations to be able to drive. Not everybody can drive the same hand controls or the same setup as some of us have more electronics. For example, my hand controls are electronic hand controls, meaning the accelerator goes into my electrical system. So you barely have to push down on the hand controls. Because of my arm strength, I don't have a lot of arm strength to push the hand controls, and so they're much easier to drive from. When I got these hand controls installed, when I got my new van, you can dial in the resistance, and they had forgotten to do that. And so when I backed out of the garage, it was just kind of down a hill, so you just kind of rolled out of the garage, and we kind of took off. I could not push the hand controls down. I'm like, I can't push these, and they were too stiff, so I can't even drive anymore, even with regular hand controls. I have to have the electronic, which you barely have to touch with your hand. So you really can't even rent a handicap accessible vehicle that would even allow me to drive. Somebody else could drive, and they would let me lock in or be locked in somewhere in the van to transport me. So flying, all of that, it really is a lot to take it all in. But for you to truly understand the question, there's so many pieces to that. And as far as getting to an airport, getting on an airplane, yeah, that's the easy part. But is my wheelchair going to come back out busted up, and then I'm stranded without a $40,000 wheelchair, and you just can't go replace that? You could throw me in a different kind of manual wheelchair. I just can't function that anymore. So I've immediately become extremely dependent. That's not going to work. And then just to try to get to a different location, I'm not saying it can't ever be done, but there's a lot of pieces to it, and I don't feel like I'm a scaredy cat about a lot of things. That just feels like a lot of risk for me to run by myself, and it doesn't feel wise. So at this time, I typically just drive, and that's probably another question that we'll get to, about what does that mean, what is the radius that I can kind of handle in one go, and I will make that a different video. So I hope that answers your question. Technically, can I fly in an airplane? Yes, I can. Will I do that alone anymore? No. There's too many things that could go wrong, and it does not feel wise to me. Would I ever take that risk? Yes, if I had the right people with me, and depends on the location. Where are we going? Do I want to fly to Guatemala, where they don't have the needs I may have there if it does get broken, or somewhere like that? That's probably different than if I were to fly to England or somewhere like that I know they have mobility places that we could probably get some help. So there's a lot to that. So I think I would, in the right scenarios, with the right people, to the right place. But for me here, within the states, no. And I hate that because I love to travel, and I love to go, and I love to fly, and I love flying by myself. It was kind of fun and adventurous. But I guess there's just too much there. It doesn't feel wise. So hope that answered your question.